Alright everyone, day of the game. Hopefully you're up early. Appreciate you watching this video. This is always the real test of how loyal, wrong word Hamish, how faithful you all are to the channel when the videos go up on the day of the game. How people who find time to watch it between 7 AM and 7 PM. I can't waffle today because there's a hell of a lot happening. It's also, and this is waffling, incredibly dull. I'm just looking and I look very strange today. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. Let's get on with this. Come on! Okay, I start with some bad news, and you may already have gathered this, but the Belgian guest that I was hoping to have on to shed some light on Club Brugge was unable to make it. Something else more important came up apparently. I can't think what's more important than this, but hey ho. I also had some sort of Philip Clement joke that I was going to try and work into this bit, but I kind of ran out of time. So you'll have to imagine what that would have been, or maybe someone could come up with something in the comments. The good news, and there is a bit of good news, maybe it's irrelevant news, is that I have been looking thoroughly at Club Brugge today. Now, Stan Sport, who have the rights for the UEFA competitions here in Australia, they do what they call a mini match. Basically, it's like a real extended highlights of matches, and I've been able to sit through extended highlights of all of Club Brugge's Champions League matches so far, and I have some things to say, and I can share that with you right now. So tonight is the fifth match for Club Brugge in the Champions League, just like ourselves. Fair to say they've had some mixed fortunes so far in the competition. Opening game, they had Borussia Dortmund at home, lost that game 3-0. Pretty harsh scoreline though, based on the way that game played out. They were actually the better team at 0-0 in that match. It was 0-0 all the way until like 75 minutes when Jamie Gittins scored the opening goal for Dortmund. He then added another 10 minutes later, and Dortmund scored a last minute penalty as well in that game. So you might be looking at that as, 3-0 victory for Dortmund, pretty brutal night for Club Brugge, and I guess the scoreline was, but they played really well in that game, had real opportunity, smashed the bar I think in the first 15 minutes and really should have taken the lead at that stage. So it was anything but a comfortable Dortmund win that night. Match day 2, they then go away to Sturm Graz, the Austrian champions, and they win 1-0. It was a pretty early goal in the game, a screamer from Christos Solis, who's the 22-year-old Greek international left winger that we're going to have to watch tonight. It was actually a mistake from Max Johnston, the former Motherwell player for Sturm Graz, for that goal. The ball was switched from the right back position away over to Solis. Johnston misjudged it, and then Solis curled an absolute beauty into the top corner. But yeah, this pass just shows, I think, that Bruges aren't afraid to go direct and try and get in behind the opposition. And clearly that's something our fullbacks in particular tonight will have to watch. They'll need to watch that diagonal pass. Like, they play some good stuff, Club Brugge, they knock the ball about, but they really aren't afraid to go long, and especially to someone like Solis, who is the guy who scored 4 goals for them in their weekend victory. So he's clearly very confident, and even taking the weekend away from things, that was a constant theme I thought over the 4 matches that I watched. In every match he really looked lively, so I think he is clearly the danger man tonight for us. But yeah, they won that, fairly comfortable 1-0 win. Didn't really have to weather too much of a storm late on in that game, and they got their first 3 points. They then go into game 3, which is San Siro against AC Milan. And again, against pretty illustrious opposition, they were pretty good in this game. They had some really big chances early on the counter-attack. Again, that's something we're going to have to be wary of tonight. They're a very good counter-attacking team, and if you give the ball away, around the halfway line, sloppy mistakes in midfield, they'll pounce on it, and they've got like wingers and real pace going in behind. Solis on one side, Skov Olsen, the Denmark international, on the right-hand side. And they like those through balls. So that's something we're going to need to watch. Good counter-attacking team. AC Milan scored after about half an hour from a corner kick. And then Rafael Onyedika was sent off for Club Brugge. One of those typical challenges you see, over the ball, studs onto the opposition player's ankle. Absolutely no doubt it was a red card. It was given after a VAR check. So he was sent off and they were down to 10 men. If you're wondering, by the way, just a bit like me, you know when you hear a name and you go, I know that name for somewhere. Rafael Onyedika was the guy while playing for FC Midtjylland who scored the winning goal to knock us out of Champions League qualifying probably 3 or 4 years ago now. So that's why you're maybe familiar with that name. So he was sent off in that game, suspended for the Villa game, back for tonight. Whether he starts or not, we'll need to wait and see. So yeah, they're down to 10 men at San Siro, 1-0 down, AC Milan. But they played really well. They scored a really well-worked equaliser 5 minutes into the second half. And then just kind of fall away a bit. The fella, Dutch guy, Reindeers, festive name, nets a couple of goals for AC Milan. And one thing I did notice about this match and also the Dortmund match was kind of when the game was over and when they went maybe a couple of goals behind, they kind of seemed to chuck it a little bit. And obviously Dortmund then went on to win 3-0. Milan won 3-1, but also had a goal disallowed late on in that game as well. Side point, the guy who scored that goal was born in 2008, which I found remarkable. But yeah, they maybe, if a game's kind of getting away from them, they maybe struggle a little bit, and there might be an opportunity tonight. Just something to keep in your mind that if we do maybe go 2-1 up, or even in a dream world 3-1, there might be an opportunity for us to pile on some more goals later on, just based off a few of their matches so far. Last match day, as you know, they beat Aston Villa in Bruges. A truly bizarre goal to win this match. Villa defender Tyrone Mings inexplicably placing the ball with his hand after Emi Martinez had already taken the goal kick. There's a bit of a debate here about whether the referee should just have allowed that to happen. Nobody was really affected. My take on it was that Mings was completely daft to do it. Bruges maybe a little bit fortunate in that they didn't. It was a bit of a gift, I guess, and they took full advantage of that. Watching the extended highlights, they deserved to win that game, though. They were better than Villa. They had other opportunities even after scoring. So, yeah, they're a good team. Bruges, I think that's the main thing that I've kind of come away thinking after watching those games. They're probably better than I thought they were. You look at the games, opening game, Dortmund, arguably the better team for 75 minutes there, albeit they still lose pretty comfortably. Completely deserved victory away to Sturm Graz. Really good away performance. Unfortunate in Milan, down to 10 men, but played some good stuff, scored a great goal, and then beat Aston Villa deservedly, and we know how good Villa are. So they're a good team. It's a really strong team we're playing tonight. But I think we're a good team as well. So it's shaping up to be a bit of a cracker. We had the press conferences yesterday. Bruges manager is called Nicky Hayen. I believe he is a former coach of Arne Engels at their kind of second club that they have in the lower divisions of Belgian football. He spoke, quite interesting stuff I thought. He said, "We know the atmosphere is really amazing here, and this is something that we have to embrace. You can't fight against it, and this is not what we want to do. I heard from people around the club that the expectations here are really big, that the atmosphere will be crazy, and they are waiting for us. I think it's a game between two teams who really want to play football, try to play dominant football with a lot of attacking options. I don't think it will be a tight game. I think it will be open, and there will be a lot of transition moments." So the Bruges manager saying that he thinks it will be an open game. They're certainly going to come and attack us, and I think that could play into our hands as well. So I do genuinely think it will be quite similar to the Leipzig game, and I would say certainly the first half of the Leipzig game was very open. Opportunities for both teams. I think in the second half they got a bit desperate and we just completely controlled that game, albeit they still had some chances. I think you're going to see something pretty similar tonight. I think it'll be an even game. Both teams will have opportunities, both teams will have spells in the game. But as much as I'm talking Bruges up, I back Celtic. I think Celtic are every bit as good as them. arguably better, but I think most importantly we have the Celtic Park factor as well. This is Bruges' likely lineup tonight, by the way. So Mignolet, who'll be a name people will know. I actually forgot that Brendan Rodgers used to be his manager at Liverpool. He let that slip at the press conference yesterday. Back four, they don't tend to change, of Says, who's a young guy, teenager, right back. Belgian who's come through their academy. Ordonez and Michelli are the centre backs. De Kuyper, left back's a good player. The aforementioned Onyedika and Jashari potentially in midfield. And the front, or the kind of next three, is Skov Olsen, the Danish guy, left-footed, right-hand side, likes to cut in. You've got Solis, the danger man on the left, Van Aken, the experienced captain, and Jutla, who I don't think is their first choice striker. I think it's a guy called Nielsen potentially, Swedish guy, that's their first choice striker, but I think he's been missing for quite a while. Jutla certainly played against Villa and looked quite good, so he's going to be a handful as well. But yeah, they've got real quality. They've got good players. You know, Van Aken's a name that people will know. I think he's played in Belgium his full career, but he's a Belgium international, 32 years old, very experienced. And even a guy like Hugo Vetlesen, who wasn't on that graphic, whether he starts or not, we'll need to wait and see. I think we'll certainly see him off the bench if he doesn't start. But he was part of the Bodo Glimt team. Really good player for them that beat us in the Conference League a few years ago. So you're looking at a really established team. I know they don't have like the star name really, but we don't really have the star name either. Doesn't mean that we're a bad team at all. You know, I think it's two really, really well coached teams, pretty even teams, I would say, if I'm totally honest. But as I say, I think the whole Celtic Park thing is in our favour. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think Leipzig are stronger than Bruges, and obviously we did really well against Leipzig. So I think we should clearly feel very good about ourselves going into this game. We had Brendan Rodgers speaking to the media yesterday as well. I don't think there was anything particularly major to report from the press conference. One quote that he did give that I absolutely loved was when he said, "It's another opportunity for us to show the power of Celtic Park." And I think Celtic Park's a very powerful place at the moment. I think there's a real synergy on these European nights, between the support and the team. Like, we feel very in tune with each other. And like we've got a good home record now. 4 games unbeaten at Champions League level. We've won our last 3, an opportunity to win 4 in a row, which would have been pretty unthinkable this time last year. So that's the opportunity for the team tonight. Rodgers also spoke about the Hearts game at the weekend and it being difficult with it being the first game back after the international break. 8 of the 11 starters at Tynecastle had been on international duty, which, to be honest, I kind of hadn't realised that number was so high. And he also, I thought this was quite interesting, right at the end of the press conference, he also said that he noticed one of our players pressing on Saturday like he would for his international team, rather than like he should be doing for Celtic. So it's wee things like that we don't see as fans, but players going international duty, and obviously they're getting coached in a different way from playing for their club, then they come back and maybe their mind's just a little bit, you know, it's still kind of thinking of what they've been taught over the previous couple of weeks. So as I say, it's things like that we don't necessarily see as fans. So I thought that was great information from the manager. And I expect us to be a lot better than Saturday. Clearly we have to be. That first half performance, if we play like that tonight, we'll be in a bit of trouble. But what you look at the kind of second performances after the breaks, and like Bratislava was one, I think Atalanta was the other one. So we've been pretty good after maybe those initial games not being as good. Full squad to choose from tonight, no injuries, certainly to anyone who would be likely to start. I think the team will be unchanged from the weekend. Just a hunch, I think it'll be Schmeichel, Johnston, Carter-Vickers, Trusty, Taylor, McGregor, Engels, Hatate, Kuhn, Furuhashi and Maeda. I know there's been a lot of chat about Paulo Bernardo starting, and I'm not against that in any way. If Paulo Bernardo's starting, I'll be quite excited to see him. I just think a couple of things. I think the team that started against Leipzig is a good one to go for. I know Engels is getting a lot of criticism. I think Engels' best performances for Celtic have been in the European matches so far. Generally speaking, tonight is a European match. So I think the balance of that midfield, given how they played against Leipzig, would be good to see tonight. And I also just think that this is Brendan Rodgers' favourite team. I think when the big games come around over the past, this season so far, if he's fit, Greg Taylor's in, and Engels is in, and Hatate is in, and clearly McGregor's going to play. I certainly think 9 positions there are pretty much selected. I think left back and one of those centre mid berths are the only ones up for debate. But I do think genuinely that will be the team. But I guess we'll wait and see later tonight. So it's a pretty big night at Celtic Park. I don't think we should overhype it. It's a big night. It's not a defining night. Even if things don't go to plan tonight, if we draw, that's fine in the grand scheme of things. I think slight disappointment because it's a winnable game clearly. But I think no damage done. If we lose, it'll obviously set us back a bit, but we'll still be in a pretty strong place to qualify from, to get to that 10 points. We've still got young boys to come at Celtic Park, Dinamo Zagreb. While that'll be tough, it could be a lot tougher. So there's still matches, but what an opportunity tonight to get to 10 points and then have these games to maybe even push on further up the table. So nets in the away end being used for the first time tonight. That's a very random thing for me to say, but I saw that from Celtic Curio online. Expecting a decent enough Club Brugge support too, so should be a good atmosphere. And finally, just before I go, I wanted to mention a few results from last night. I know we're pretty Europe focused at the moment, but there was a game in the Premiership. Aberdeen were held to a 3-3 draw at Hibernian. 3 goals in injury time there too. One a stunning free kick from Nicky Cadden for Hibs, and then Esther Sockler scored a quite outrageous overhead kick, but Aberdeen still couldn't hold on. So it means that we're looking increasingly better at the top of the Premiership, and we have Aberdeen at Pittodrie this time next week. In the Champions League, some interesting scores. I did notice that Atalanta had thumped Young Boys 6-1 away from home. Young Boys appear to be one of the poorest teams in this competition, and as I say, we've still got them to come at Celtic Park, so that's clearly positive. This is the Champions League table ahead of tonight's games, so we're down to 18th at the moment, but we will leapfrog, and wait for this, with victory tonight we will leapfrog Manchester City, AC Milan, Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich. So what a weird thing that is to say, but that's the opportunity for the team tonight. And enjoy yourself if you're going to the game. I'm sure you will. Hopefully it's a positive result. If you're watching, like me, elsewhere on television, same goes for you. Back tomorrow to look back on the game.